Gabby, a writing coach for aspiring writers who have a story worth sharing. And this is 30 days of momentum with my bestie, Jaime. I'll let her introduce herself.
I am Jaime. I'm a life and business coach and also the founder of the Anima Collective.
We're so excited that you're here with us today. I want to say a few more words about my work. Why do I call myself a writing coach for aspiring writers who have a story worth sharing? Well, I wanted to tell you that I really like virgins. I like popping the cherry of aspiring writers and helping them get that first draft out on the page. Those are my favorite people to work with. You know what I mean, Jaime?
I love those. My favorite people to work with are also people that are starting their first business, that have come from something else, and then they're like, okay, I've had this idea for a long time, and they're like bringing that life into life. So
those are the best. We get to be the
virgins. Bring us the virgins.
Come to us if you're a virgin. Okay, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about leadership. And the reason that we're talking about leadership is I brought this up to Jaime. I am currently in a speaking training program, and my mentor said to me that the world has enough speakers. What it needs is more leaders who are willing to speak. And at that point, my mind went completely blank. I was like, leader? Am I supposed to be a leader? And honestly, the idea of leader in my mind has always been associated with C-suite executives or organizational leadership. And I've been an entrepreneur since I'm 17 years old. Like, I've never had a real job in my life. And so I really had to sort of rack my brain and think about what leadership was. And he gave me a few more prompts. You know, he told me first, you have to consider self-leadership before you can lead others. That was also not helpful.
Like, I'm leading myself down all the paths. I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah. So I also realized that over the last 5 years or so, as I'm approaching this threshold of my 50th birthday, I realized that I'm often the oldest person in the room, right? Because I'm the professor or I have younger friends, and I'm looking around and I'm like, I can't look to these people as leaders. And also, you know, I no longer fit in the box of just being a professor or something like that. And I actually need to come up with a new version of what leadership is. And the reason I think this is really important is because I think it's important for me to embody this as I cross this threshold. And I think these are extraordinary times that call on ordinary people to really rise up and own some kind of leadership, whatever that looks like. And I'm wondering, like, for you, you know, how are you navigating this idea of leadership as a coach and founder of community?
I think for me, like, the idea of like what we were talking about yesterday in terms of like blowing up the box, right? Like the idea of like, okay, we have this idea of like what it's supposed to look like. And then it's like, well, it hasn't looked that way yet. So I don't think it ever is going to. So then it's like, okay, what is the new space of it? And for me, like, I was much like you, like, I am now the oldest person in the room most of the time, right? I am almost always at least 5 years older than everybody in the room, if not 10, 20 years older than some of the people. And I always had this idea of like, oh, like, what am I supposed to be doing? And I have a lot more experience and I have things to say about it, but also like, I also know that other people need their own path. So it's like that space of like, when you go, I was listening to this podcast yesterday and they were talking about the space between being a student and then being a teacher and then being a mentor. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I like this language of, and what the woman said was like, when you're a student, you're like gathering information. And when you're a teacher, you're like regurgitating information. But when you're a mentor, you're listening so that the student or the teacher can come to you and say, they'll tell you the things and then you can guide them so that they can get to the answer. And I was like, oh, that's the switch in like leadership for me that I think is possible. I was like, when you started talking about it, I was like, okay, I was like, I never really feel like a leader, but I lead so many things. And I was like,
why is everyone following?
Wild.
Why are they following us, right?
And I mean, like, listen, I'm the best herder of cats there is, right? Like, I'm super good at that kind of stuff. But I was often told as a younger person that I was like a little bit too bossy, that I was, okay, a lot bossy, and that I was a lot too bossy, that I was like always trying to take over things, that I was like trying to like make things the way I wanted them. And all I kept thinking about, like, it's like, oh, and now people are asking me to do those things, and half of the time I'm like, no. Like, like my general reaction is like, you didn't want me when I was trying to do it before. But it's like, okay, actually, what is that? What is that feeling, and what does it look like?
Yeah. Okay. So we want to know from you, what does leadership look like for you? So like this video if you found it helpful, share this video with your friends who would love it, and comment below your ideas for leadership. How are you leading yourself? How are you leading others? And we will be back here tomorrow for day 3 of this journey leading up to my 50th birthday that we are celebrating at the Modern Elder Academy in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.
Bye.